Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a highly debated, honestly fascinating topic. We're looking at a source that dives deep into the biology, the psychology, and the whole concept of modern masculinity. Specifically, how to supposedly boost testosterone naturally, zero cost, just by fundamentally rewiring how you interact with the world. It's a pretty bold look at what the creator calls a modern crisis of masculinity, complete with a strict blueprint for change. There is a lot of intense information to unpack here, from ancient traditions to modern biology, so let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source actually opens with a totally striking, almost jarring comparison. On one hand, you've got a traditional West African coming-of-age ritual. Young men standing shirtless in public, arms bound, exposing their rib cages, and enduring a whipping. If they cry out or show pain, deep shame. It's this brutal, public test of endurance to see if a boy is ready to be a man. But contrast that with how we measure masculinity today. You walk into a quiet, sterile clinic, give a little blood sample, and get a piece of paper with a number on it. The source uses this stark contrast to argue a major point. Historically, true masculinity, and the testosterone that fuels it, was forged in physical and mental crucibles, not just measured in a lab.
To really get why this hormone is so highly valued in the source material, we have to look at what it actually does to the brain, because it's not just about building bigger muscles. The creator lays out 5 specific psychological functions. According to the source, higher testosterone actively increases your pain tolerance. It literally makes the act of putting in hard effort feel good, like it actually rewards you for labor. Plus, it dramatically boosts your social confidence, encourages taking calculated risks, basically acting more like a predator than prey, and helps you stay mentally sharp and calm even when you're afraid. It's framed here as this ultimate biological operating system for resilience.
But why does this all matter right now? Well, the source points to some really alarming statistics projected for the year 2026 to illustrate this supposed modern crisis. According to the data cited, up to 70% of young males are single. A staggering 45% have literally never approached a woman face-to-face, and nearly 80% are essentially sexless. The creator draws a direct line between these behavioral stats and a systemic lack of drive, confidence, and ultimately low testosterone. The whole argument is that modern comforts have totally stripped away the environmental pressures that used to naturally boost this hormone.
So what's the fix? The source breaks its solution down into 3 distinct methods. Number 1, ego and the challenge hypothesis. Number 2, the psychology of winners. And 3, diet and heavy lifting. Let's map this out and see exactly where this is headed.
Section 1. Ego and the challenge hypothesis. The source absolutely rejects the modern idea that the male ego is fragile or toxic. Instead, they argue you should actually weaponize it. And that brings us to this fascinating piece of science called the challenge hypothesis. The source points to researcher John Wingfield, who totally changed how we view this hormone. Wingfield put a fake male bird into the territory of 2 real male birds and played aggressive challenge sounds. The real birds went into an absolute frenzy defending their space. Wingfield noticed their testosterone didn't just rise, it violently spiked. He later saw the exact same pattern in fish, mammals, and even humans. The big takeaway? Your testosterone doesn't rise when you're sitting around feeling safe. It spikes when you're in danger, when you're competing, or when your status or territory is actively threatened. Because of that biological trigger, the source actually recommends adopting a highly competitive, almost aggressive internal monologue. They literally suggest repeating to yourself, "I am the best. I am the strongest. I am not just like the rest of you. I am smarter. I am better." Now sure, that might sound pretty arrogant on the surface, but the source explains it's not about being outwardly cruel to people. It's a psychological hack. By demanding sky-high standards of yourself and clearly defining your enemies, whether that's a toxic workplace, doubters, or just your own laziness, you trick your brain into treating your environment like a battlefield. You're telling your biology you're a predator, not prey, and that triggers the hormonal spike.
Section 2. The psychology of winners.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. 43%. The source highlights this crazy study where a rugby team saw a massive 43% drop in their testosterone levels just from losing a single match. It's known in psychology as the winner effect. Think about it. When you win, whether it's closing a deal or crushing it in a hobby, your body rewards you with a massive hormone surge, making you more confident and biologically primed to win again. But when you lose, the body suppresses those hormones, making you feel defeated and making that next attempt even harder. Winning literally creates a biological feedback loop. This creates a really stark divide in behavior, what the source categorizes as high-status versus low-status behaviors.
We usually think of introversion as just a personality trait, right? But the source argues that, biologically, your body treats introversion and social anxiety as a low-status survival mechanism. If you avoid eye contact or stay in a toxic relationship or a job where you're totally unappreciated, your brain receives the signal that you are at the bottom of the hierarchy. So it suppresses your testosterone to keep you docile and out of the way of stronger competitors. On the flip side, extroverts, people who are decisive, who leave toxic environments and take up space, reportedly show 30% more testosterone on average. The idea is that your perceived status controls your hormones, and your hormones control your perceived status.
Section 3. Diet and heavy lifting. All right, moving from the psychological warfare of ego into the hard physical biology of your body. Before you even touch a weight, the source issues a critical warning about body fat. Specifically, it's about an enzyme heavily concentrated in your fat cells called aromatase. If your body fat creeps over that 20 to 25% mark, this enzyme goes into absolute overdrive. It literally steals your hard-earned testosterone and actively converts it into estrogen. And the results, according to the source, are a lowered sex drive, a persistently bad mood, and a really hard time building any muscle. So if you're carrying excess weight, fat loss isn't just a good idea, it is your absolute, non-negotiable biological priority.
To tackle that, the creator lays out a super straightforward dietary strategy based on where you're starting. If you're already lean, sitting at under 15% body fat, your body actually needs nutritional reserves to build hormones. You've got to feed the machine. They recommend nutrient-dense foods rich in healthy fats and proteins, like eggs, paneer, yogurt, and sourdough. But if you're over that 20 to 25% threshold, your only goal is entering a strict caloric deficit. You have to drop the fat to shut down that aromatase enzyme immediately.
So how do you actually hit that deficit? The source gives a fantastically simple, actionable math formula for this. Grab a calculator. Step 1, take your body weight in kilograms and multiply it by 2.2. Step 2, take that result and multiply it by 15. The number you get right there is your maintenance calories, the exact amount you need to eat to stay the exact same weight. Now for step 3, simply subtract 500 to 700 calories from that total. That right there is your daily target to safely, effectively strip away the fat that's suppressing your hormones. Once the diet is locked in, you have to apply the right physical stress, and they are very specific here. Light cardio or doing 1,000,000 reps with tiny weights is just not going to cut it. You need a heavy lifting protocol. The focus has to be on big compound lifts, deadlifts, bench presses, squats, movements that recruit massive muscle groups all at once. You need to be lifting heavy, specifically between 70 to 90% of your absolute maximum weight. Because the weight is so heavy, you keep the reps super low, just 4 to 6 per set. Why? Because putting your body under that immense, crushing load sends a huge panic signal to your hypothalamus, forcing it to dump massive amounts of growth hormones into your system just to help you survive.
So the crucial point is understanding the science behind the muscle itself. Your body basically has two distinct gears. Type 1 muscle fibers are your endurance engines. They use fat and oxygen, they're super efficient, and they handle your daily tasks. But type 2 muscle fibers, those are your explosive survival engines. They run on a completely different system, phosphocreatine, and burn energy 100 times faster. They're built for life or death moments, like sprinting away from a threat or lifting a boulder. The source points out that our comfortable modern life almost never requires type 2 fibers. The only way to wake them up and get the biological upgrades that come with them is by forcing the issue through heavy, intense lifting.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from ancient concepts of status to the biology of the winner effect, straight through to the rigid discipline of diet and compound lifting. But the source leaves its audience with a really pointed challenge, and I want to pass that directly to you as we wrap things up. The creator notes that a lot of people will just watch, feel a quick spike of motivation, nod their heads, and change absolutely nothing about their daily routines. So the ultimate question is, will you just nod your head at this information, or will you take that critical first step to convert this knowledge into actual, physical action in your own life? Something to really think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.